The message came on a Tuesday. Dr. Tae-ho Kim was eating lunch when his phone buzzed. One buzz, then two, then a constant stream until he pulled it from his pocket. The screen was filled with alerts. All staff report to main lab immediately. Tae-ho left his half-eaten sandwich and ran. The halls of the Korean Space Agency were filled with people doing the same thing. No one spoke. They all knew something big had happened. In the main lab, Director Dae-jung stood before the large screen. His face was pale. "We have received a message," he said simply. "Not from Earth." The room went silent. Tae-ho felt his heart beating fast in his chest. "Play it again," Director Dae-jung told the tech team. The screen lit up with strange symbols that moved and changed. A sound played that made Tae-ho's skin feel cold. It wasn't music, but it wasn't random noise either. It had patterns, like language. "It's been received by every major space agency on Earth," Director Dae-jung said. "The Americans, Chinese, Europeans, all of us got the exact same message at the exact same time." Jae-won Park stepped forward. She was the best code breaker at the agency. "I think I can translate parts of it," she said. "The basic structure is mathematical. They're using prime numbers as a foundation." "They?" someone asked. "The aliens," Jae-won said firmly. "This is a first contact message." Over the next 3 days, Tae-ho barely slept. He worked with Jae-won and a team of experts from around the world over video calls. Slowly, they began to understand small parts of the message. "They call themselves the Vex," Jae-won told the team on the 4th day. "And they say they're coming to Earth." The news sent the world into a frenzy. Some people celebrated. Others prepared for the end of the world. Most just watched the sky and wondered. Tae-ho spent his nights looking at the stars through his apartment window. As a xenobiologist, he had spent his life studying the possibility of alien life. Now it was real, and he felt both excited and afraid. 1 week after the message arrived, Jae-won called Tae-ho to her private office. "I found something hidden in the Vex message," she said, her voice low. "Look at this." On her screen was a strange set of data that didn't match the rest of the message. "What is it?" Tae-ho asked. "Military data," Jae-won whispered. "I think these are weapon specifications. And this," she pointed to another section, "looks like biological information. DNA sequences, maybe." Tae-ho frowned. Why would they hide this in a greeting message? "That's what worries me," Jae-won said. "I think we should tell Director Dae-jung." The next day, world leaders announced that the Vex had sent a second message. They would arrive in 6 months for a cultural exchange. In a private meeting room, Tae-ho and Jae-won showed their findings to military officials. "We think there may be more to this visit than cultural exchange," Tae-ho explained. General Sung-ho looked grim. "We've had similar concerns. Intelligence agencies around the world are on high alert, but we must be careful not to create panic." "What should we do?" Jae-won asked. "Prepare," the general said, "and keep looking for more hidden messages. You two are now part of a special team. Your work is classified." As Tae-ho left the meeting, he looked up at the night sky. The stars no longer seemed peaceful. Somewhere up there, the Vex were coming, and he couldn't shake the feeling that Earth was not ready for whatever they were bringing with them. 6 months suddenly seemed very short. 6 months passed too quickly. Tae-ho stood on the roof of the Korean Space Agency building with hundreds of other staff. All eyes looked up at the sky. The first Vex ships had entered Earth's orbit that morning. "There," someone shouted, pointing. A dark shape moved across the sun, then another, and another. 7 massive ships, each bigger than a city. Tae-ho's phone rang. It was General Sung-ho. "Dr. Kim, you are needed at the landing site. A car is waiting for you downstairs." The world had agreed on a single meeting place for first contact. A flat, empty field outside Seoul. As Tae-ho arrived, he saw military forces from many countries setting up a perimeter. In the center stood a simple platform with a table and chairs. Dr. Kim, General Sung-ho waved him over. You will join the diplomatic team. Your knowledge of biology may be useful. Why not Jae-won too? Tae-ho asked. She is monitoring all communications from a secure location, the general said. We need eyes and ears in different places. A loud sound filled the air. Everyone looked up as a smaller Vex ship broke away from the fleet and descended. It was smooth and black, shaped like a teardrop. The ship landed softly on the grass. For a long minute, nothing happened. Then a door opened in the side, and light poured out. 3 tall figures walked down a ramp. They had 4 arms each and skin that shimmered like metal. Their heads were shaped like teardrops, matching their ship, with 3 large eyes arranged in a triangle. But it was what came after them that made Tae-ho's heart race. 6 animals padded out of the ship. They looked like wolves, but wrong somehow. Their fur was blue-black, and their eyes glowed red. They stood as tall as a man's chest, with muscles that rippled under their skin. Their teeth gleamed white and sharp. The lead Vex stepped forward. I am Commander Krell. We come in peace to learn about your world. The human delegation moved forward. General Sung-ho introduced each member. When he reached Tae-ho, Commander Krell's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. A biologist? How fortunate. You will appreciate our guardians. Krell gestured to the wolf-like creatures. We grew them in our labs. Each is as smart as a young Vex. They understand commands in any language. One of the creatures turned its glowing eyes directly to Tae-ho. He felt a chill. The animal was studying him, analyzing him. These were not just pets or guards. They were weapons. Inside the meeting tent, talks began. The Vex spoke perfect English, which they said they had learned from Earth's broadcasts. They asked many questions about Earth's geography, especially about the polar regions. We are particularly interested in studying your ice caps, Commander Krell said. Our scientists believe they hold valuable data about your planet's history. General Sung-ho smiled politely. Those areas are environmentally sensitive. We would need to discuss specific research parameters. While they talked, Tae-ho watched the wolf creatures. They sat alert by the door, eyes always moving. One kept staring at him. When their eyes met, the creature's mouth opened slightly, showing rows of teeth. It was not a friendly gesture. That night, Tae-ho called Jae-won. The wolves aren't normal animals, he said quietly. They're watching us, studying us. And the Vex kept asking about access to Antarctica and the Arctic. I don't like it, Jae-won replied. Hold on, I'm getting a message from our satellite team. She was quiet for a moment. Tae-ho, more Vex ships are arriving, and they're positioning themselves above major cities around the world. Tae-ho looked out his window at the night sky. The stars were hidden by the massive shapes of Vex ships. I think, he said slowly, we need to be ready for more than cultural exchange. 2 weeks after the Vex arrival, Tae-ho was working late in his lab when Soo-bin Lee burst through the door. Soo-bin was his research assistant, young and smart with eyes that missed nothing. Dr. Kim, you need to see this, she said, out of breath. She placed a tablet on his desk. I found these files in the deep archives. They were just declassified today. Tae-ho looked at the screen. The files showed images of planets from other solar systems. Each had a similar story. Vex ships arrived, requested access to specific areas. Then suddenly the planet's main species disappeared. Where did you get this? Tae-ho asked quietly. International space agencies shared it. The Vex have done this before. Many times. Soo-bin's voice shook. Look at the pattern. They always come in peace first. They always ask for access to specific areas. And then they release their weapons. Tae-ho scrolled through the images. On each planet, strange wolf-like creatures were shown hunting down the native species. The war wolves, he whispered. They're not just guards. They're an invasion force. Soo-bin nodded. Each one is made specifically to hunt the main species of the planet they visit. They grow them in labs to match each world they want to take. Tai-ho reached for his phone. We need to tell General Sung-ho. An hour later, they met in a secure room deep under the Korean Space Agency. General Sung-ho studied the files with a grim face. We suspected something like this, he said. Other intelligence agencies have raised similar concerns. The Russians found old radio signals from a nearby solar system. The signals told a story of peaceful visitors who turned into conquerors. What do we do? Tai-ho asked. For now, we keep talking to them. We stall. We do not give them access to the polar regions. The general's face was hard. And we prepare for the worst. Su-bin cleared her throat. There's something else. The satellite team found this. She showed them new images. Vex ships were releasing something into Earth's upper atmosphere. Tiny particles that spread like a thin cloud. What is that? Tai-ho asked. We think it's an early-stage bioweapon, General Sung-ho said. Something to weaken us before they release their war wolves. Tai-ho felt cold fear in his stomach. How long do we have? Unknown. The general stood up. But we're not helpless. Several countries are working on weapons that might work against the Vex, and we have our own biological research. As they left the meeting, Tai-ho's phone buzzed with a message from Jae-won. Need to talk. My place. Now. When he arrived at Jae-won's apartment, she let him in quickly and locked the door. I've been working on the hidden parts of their messages, she said. I found something about their war wolves. They're designed to hunt humans specifically. They can smell us from miles away. They're faster and stronger than any Earth predator. Is there any weakness? Tai-ho asked. Jae-won nodded slowly. They're too perfect. Lab-grown creatures with no natural evolution. I think that might be important somehow. Tai-ho's phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize. When he answered, a voice spoke quickly. Dr. Kim. This is Dr. Yoon Gi-kang from the Antarctic Research Station. We found something in the ice you need to see. Something very old. Something that might help against the Vex. What is it? Tai-ho asked. Not over the phone, Dr. Kang said. But let's just say, Earth had its own war wolves once, and they weren't made in labs. The line went dead. Tai-ho looked at Jae-won. I need to go to Antarctica, he said. Outside, the night sky was filled with Vex ships, their lights blinking like cold stars. Time was running out. The flight to Antarctica was long and tense. Tai-ho watched from the window as they passed under several Vex ships. The aliens had allowed the flight only because Dr. Kim claimed he was going to study climate change. When the plane landed on the ice, Tai-ho was met by a small woman in a thick white coat. Dr. Kim. I'm Dr. Yoon Gi-kang. Thank you for coming so quickly. She led him to a snow-capped vehicle. As they drove across the white landscape, Dr. Kang explained that she was a paleontologist who had been working at the research station for 3 years. 2 weeks ago, we found something in a deep ice cave, she said. At first, we thought it was just another frozen mammoth, but it's much more important. After an hour of driving, they reached a small camp with several heated tents. Dr. Kang led Tai-ho to the largest one. Prepare yourself, she said. What you're about to see changes everything. Inside, the tent was bright and warm. In the center was a large block of clear ice, and inside the ice was a massive wolf. But not a modern wolf. This creature was twice the size of any wolf Tai-ho had ever seen. Its body was thick with muscle. Its teeth were as long as human fingers. Its fur was dark and thick. A dire wolf, Dr. Kang said. Canis dirus. They went extinct over 10,000 years ago. They were the apex predators of their time. It's perfectly preserved, Tai-ho whispered, walking around the ice block. Yes, and it's not alone. Dr. Kang led him to another tent. This one contained 5 more ice blocks, each with another dire wolf frozen inside. How is this possible? Tai-ho asked. They were trapped in a flash freeze event, Dr. Kang explained. The cave they were in was suddenly filled with supercooled water, which froze instantly. Their bodies never had time to decay. And you think these can help against the Vex somehow? Dr. Kang nodded. Follow me. In a third tent, scientists worked at computers and lab equipment. On a large screen was a comparison of DNA. On one side was the dire wolf DNA. On the other was DNA from one of the Vex war wolves, somehow obtained by intelligence agents. Look at the differences, Dr. Kang said. The Vex wolves are engineered. Perfect. Every strand of DNA has a purpose. Nothing wasted. And our dire wolves? Messy. Full of random mutations and unused code. The result of millions of years of evolution. But she pointed to a specific section of DNA. They have something the Vex wolves don't have. Adaptability. The ability to change and survive in almost any environment. Taiho looked back at the frozen dire wolves. You want to bring them back. Clone them. Better, Dr. Kang said. We want to revive them. The DNA is intact. The bodies are preserved down to the cellular level. With your help, we might be able to actually wake them up. Taiho's mind raced. Even if we could, these are prehistoric predators. They wouldn't know how to fight the Vex wolves. Dr. Kang smiled. That's where you're wrong. These weren't just any dire wolves. Based on the brain size and neural structure, these were among the smartest of their kind. And their instincts to hunt and protect territory are hardwired. The Vex made their wolves in labs. We just need to dig ours out of the ice. Taiho's phone buzzed. It was a message from General Sung-ho. Vex have issued ultimatum, demanding full access to all polar regions within 30 days, or they will take them by force. How soon can your team be ready? Taiho looked at the ancient predators in the ice. We need to work fast, he said. Dr. Kang nodded. The fate of our world may depend on these creatures that walked the earth long before humans built cities. Outside, the Antarctic wind howled like a wolf. A day after the Vex ultimatum, General Sung-ho arrived at the Antarctic base. With him came Dr. Min Ji-song, Korea's top genetic engineer. Her face was serious as she examined the frozen dire wolves. Can it be done? General Sung-ho asked. Min Ji walked around the ice blocks, taking notes on her tablet. Maybe. The preservation is remarkable. But revival has never been done with specimens this old. We don't need all of them, Taiho said. Even one would prove the concept. They gathered in the main tent. Maps showed Vex ships positioned over every major city on Earth. The aliens had sent their final message to all world governments. Surrender Earth's resources or face complete destruction. 30 days to decide. We know what happens if we surrender, General Sung-ho said. The Vex will release their war wolves, hunt us down, and take our planet. Other worlds have fallen this way. What are our options? Taiho asked. Military forces are preparing, but the Vex technology is far beyond ours. Conventional weapons may slow them, but not stop them. Min Ji looked up from her tablet. I studied the DNA samples. These dire wolves have something special. Their genetic structure shows incredible adaptability. They evolved to survive ice ages, warming periods, and changing prey. While the Vex wolves were designed in labs, Taiho added, perfect for one purpose only, hunting humans. Exactly, Min Ji said. Lab perfection versus natural evolution. I think we can use that. General Sung-ho leaned forward. How long to revive one? With a full team working around the clock, maybe 2 weeks, Min Ji said. But we need a secure facility. The Vex can't know what we're doing. There's an old military bunker built under this research station during the Cold War, Dr. Kang said. It's deep, secure, and off all official maps. Perfect, General Sung-ho said. Dr. Song, what do you need? Equipment, a team of geneticists and veterinarians, and blood plasma from modern wolves to help stabilize the revival process. "You'll have it all within 48 hours, the general promised. That night, they named their plan Project Icefang. By morning, military transport planes began arriving with equipment and specialists from around the world. The bunker was quickly transformed into a state-of-the-art genetic lab. The frozen dire wolves were carefully moved inside. Minji selected the best-preserved male as their first subject. "If we succeed," Taiho said as they prepared for the first procedure, "what happens next? These are wild predators from another time. We won't change their basic nature," Minji assured him. "But I can enhance certain traits: intelligence, loyalty, ability to understand commands. They'll still be dire wolves, just better." On the 6th day, they began the revival process. The ice was slowly melted away using a special solution that prevented cell damage. As the massive body emerged, everyone in the lab fell silent. The dire wolf was larger than they had thought, nearly 5 feet tall at the shoulder. "Heart tissue intact," Minji reported, looking at her scans. "Brain shows no damage. Beginning electrical stimulation now." For 3 days, they worked in shifts, carefully bringing the ancient cells back to life one system at a time. Taiho barely slept. The Vex ultimatum clock was ticking down. 21 days left. On the morning of the 10th day, Taiho was awakened by Minji shaking his shoulder. "It worked," she whispered, her eyes wide. "Come see." In the main lab, the dire wolf lay on a large table. Its chest moved up and down slowly. It was breathing. As Taiho watched in wonder, the wolf's eyes opened. They were deep gold, like ancient amber. The eyes of a hunter that had walked the earth when humans were still living in caves. The dire wolf looked directly at Taiho, and then it blinked. For 3 days, the dire wolf did nothing but eat and sleep. It consumed massive amounts of meat, while its body adjusted to being alive again after thousands of years frozen in ice. "We should name him," Minji said on the 4th day. They watched from behind safety glass as the huge predator paced around its large enclosure. "Ghost," Taiho suggested. "He's a ghost from the past." The name stuck. Ghost grew stronger each day. His thick gray-white fur filled out. His muscles became more defined. His golden eyes missed nothing. On the 5th day, Taiho entered Ghost's enclosure for the first time. Everyone warned him not to, but he felt sure it was the right move. "Stay very still," Dr. Kang said through the speaker. "If he charges, we'll tranquilize him." Taiho stood in the center of the room. Ghost watched him from the corner, head low, ears forward. Slowly, the dire wolf began to circle him. "It's okay," Taiho said softly. "We need each other." Ghost came closer, smelling the air. He was bigger than Taiho had realized. Standing this close, the wolf's head reached Taiho's chest. One bite from those massive jaws could end everything. Instead, Ghost sniffed Taiho's hand, then sat down. "I don't believe it," Minji whispered through the speaker. "He's accepting you as pack." Over the next week, they revived 2 more dire wolves, a female they named Shadow and another male named Storm. Like Ghost, these wolves showed intelligence far beyond modern wolves. They could understand simple commands after hearing them just once. Most surprising was their pack behavior. Unlike the Vex wolves, which operated like soldiers following orders, the dire wolves worked together with natural instincts built over millions of years of evolution. "They're communicating in ways we don't fully understand," Taiho told General Sungho during a video call. "Ghost is clearly the leader, but they make decisions as a group." "Can they fight the Vex wolves?" the general asked. "They're bigger and stronger, but the Vex wolves have built-in advantages. We've seen them heal quickly from wounds. They might have other enhancements too." "We need an edge," General Sungho said. "Something the Vex won't expect." That edge came from an unexpected place. One morning, Taiho entered the lab to find Minji staring at test results with wide eyes. The dire wolves can detect the Vex bioweapon, she said. What? How? We exposed fur samples to the particles collected from the air. The fur changes color slightly, a reaction we didn't program. It's natural. These wolves evolved during times when Earth's atmosphere changed dramatically. They adapted to detect air quality. Tai-Ho immediately called General Sung-Ho. We can use the wolves to track the bioweapon, he explained. Maybe even develop a defense against it. The general's face was grim. We're running out of time. The Vex have started small attacks in remote areas, testing their wolves against our defenses. How did our forces do? Tai-Ho asked. Not well. The Vex wolves are faster than our bullets. We need your dire wolves ready soon. That evening, Tai-Ho sat in Ghost's enclosure. The huge wolf lay beside him, alert but calm. 2 more dire wolves had been revived that day. The pack was growing. We're going to need you, Tai-Ho said quietly to Ghost. All of us. The whole planet. Ghost turned his ancient golden eyes to Tai-Ho. There was something in that gaze. Understanding, perhaps, or determination. This creature's ancestors had survived ice ages, fought saber-toothed cats, and watched humans rise from caves to cities. Outside the bunker, a Vex ship passed overhead, scanning the ice. 15 days remained until their deadline. The race to save Earth was on. 3 weeks after the ultimatum, the world changed. Vex ships moved into position above every major city. People looked up at the dark shapes blocking the sun and wondered if they would see another month. In the Antarctic bunker, Tai-Ho watched the news reports on a small screen. A Vex war wolf had attacked a remote village in Siberia. 20 people died before military forces arrived. The footage showed glimpses of a blue-black shape moving faster than the eye could follow. They're testing us, General Sung-Ho said over the video call, seeing how we respond. How many dire wolves do we have now? Asked a voice off screen. It was the president. 8 fully revived, Tai-Ho reported. 4 more in process. Is that enough? Tai-Ho hesitated. No, but they're not ordinary wolves. They're smarter than we expected. And we found something else. Minji stepped into view. The dire wolves have a natural immunity to the Vex bioweapon. It's in their gut bacteria, something they evolved thousands of years ago to survive in changing environments. Can we use this? The president asked. Yes, Minji said. We've already started producing a spray from their gut bacteria. It neutralizes the Vex particles in the air. The president nodded. I'm going to inform the UN Security Council about Project Icefang. The world needs hope. After the call ended, Tai-Ho went to check on the pack. They were in a large training area, where military handlers worked with them on combat exercises. Ghost, as the Alpha, led the others. They moved as one unit, communicating with subtle ear movements and quiet sounds. Unlike normal wolves, these dire wolves stood as tall as a man's chest. Their jaws could crush bone with one bite. Yet with their human handlers, they showed surprising gentleness. They understand what we're facing, Dr. Kang said, watching beside Tai-Ho. Somehow, they know. That evening, the UN Security Council met in emergency session. General Sung-Ho presented Project Icefang, showing video of the dire wolves in training. For the first time in weeks, world leaders had hope. The next morning, Vex war wolves attacked 3 more locations, a town in Brazil, a village in Kenya, and a research station in Alaska. Each time, they tested different human defenses. Each time, they learned. 9 days left, Tai-Ho told the pack as he sat with them in their enclosure. All 8 wolves lay around him, alert but calm. We need more time. His phone rang. It was G1. Tai-Ho, I found something in the Vex communications. They're planning to release their war wolves on day 30, no matter what we answer. Tai-Ho's heart sank. They never intended to wait for our response. No, it was always going to be an invasion. But there's something else. The Vex wolves have a weakness. They can't adapt to sudden changes in their environment. They're programmed for specific conditions. While our dire wolves evolved to handle anything, Taiho said, looking at Ghost, that's our advantage. The next day, military planes began transporting the first dire wolves to key locations around the world. Each wolf carried a small camera and communications device on its collar. They would be the first line of defense. Ghost and 3 others stayed with Taiho. They had a special mission. We're going to infiltrate the main Vex ship, Taiho told them, knowing they understood more than anyone thought possible. We need to find where they're controlling their wolves from. On a screen in the bunker, a countdown timer showed 7 days remaining. Above it was a satellite image of thousands of Vex war wolves being loaded onto transport ships. The invasion was coming. On day 30, the Vex ships opened. Around the world, dark shapes dropped from the sky. Thousands of blue-black war wolves landed in cities, forests, and fields. Their red eyes glowed as they began to hunt. Taiho watched from a military helicopter as Seoul's streets filled with people running from the alien wolves. Below, soldiers fired at the fast-moving shapes, but most bullets missed. It's time, General Sung-ho said over the radio. Release the dire wolves. Transport trucks opened across the city. 20 dire wolves leaped out, Ghost leading the largest pack. They were massive next to the people they protected. Ancient predators brought back to defend a world they had never known. Ghost howled, a sound that echoed between buildings. The other dire wolves answered. Then they ran toward the enemy. The first clash happened in a city park. 3 Vex wolves had cornered a group of people against a wall. They turned as Ghost's pack approached. For a moment, the 2 types of wolves studied each other. Lab-made killers facing natural hunters. A Vex wolf leaped first, aiming for Ghost's throat. Ghost dodged in a way modern wolves couldn't, using the corner of a bench to change direction mid-jump. His massive jaws closed on the Vex wolf's back leg. The other dire wolves attacked in pairs, one distracting while another struck. It was natural pack hunting, perfected over millions of years of evolution. They're winning, Taiho said in amazement as he watched through binoculars. In Seoul, yes, General Sung-ho replied. But we don't have enough for every city. We need to strike at the source. The helicopter turned toward the largest Vex ship hovering over the city center. This was the command ship where the war wolves were being deployed. Ghost will meet us there, Taiho said, checking the tracking signal from the Alpha Wolf's collar. After the battle in the park, Ghost and 2 other dire wolves had broken away, somehow knowing the mission without being told. The helicopter landed on a building roof near the Vex ship. A transport tube connected the ship to the building, allowing the Vex to move troops down. We go up that same tube, General Sung-ho said, checking his weapon. Dr. Kim, you stay here. I need to go, Taiho insisted. Ghost and the others will follow me. They're our best chance. Before the general could argue, Ghost appeared on the roof, 2 dire wolves at his side. Their fur was matted with blue-black blood from Vex wolves. They looked fierce but unharmed. See, Taiho said. They'd know what to do. The general nodded. Stay behind me. They entered the transport tube, rising slowly into the Vex ship. The dire wolves moved silently despite their size. At the top, they found a vast chamber where hundreds of war wolves waited in metal cases for deployment. The control room should be there. The general pointed to a glowing door across the chamber. Suddenly, 6 Vex war wolves appeared, forming a line between them and the door. Behind them stood Commander Krell. Humans, the alien said, you surprise us. Finding ancient predators was unexpected. The Vex wolves stepped forward, teeth bared. They were smaller than the dire wolves but moved with machine-like precision. Ghost growled low in his throat. The sound carried ancient power. He stepped in front of Taiho, protecting him. Your wolves were made in labs, Taiho said to Krell. Ours were shaped by time and survival. Let's see which is stronger. Ghost launched forward, faster than Tahoe had ever seen him move. The other dire wolves followed. They didn't attack straight on like the Vex expected. Instead, they used the metal cases as cover, attacking from different angles. In the chaos, Tahoe and the general slipped around the edge toward the control room. "Make it count," Tahoe whispered to Ghost as they passed the battle. "Earth is depending on us." The control room of the Vex ship glowed with strange blue light. Tahoe and General Sung-Ho worked quickly at the alien panels while the sounds of fighting echoed from outside. "Look at this," Tahoe said, pointing to a screen showing Earth. Red dots covered the planet, each one a location where Vex war wolves were being released. "Can we stop the deployment?" the general asked. "I think so. These controls seem to manage their wolves." Tahoe studied the symbols. The Vex control them through signals. If we change the signal, a crash came from the doorway. Commander Krull stood there, his metal skin dented and leaking blue fluid. "Step away from the controls," the alien ordered. "Your planet is already lost." General Sung-Ho raised his weapon, but Krell moved faster than a human could. He knocked the gun away and grabbed the general by the throat. "Your dire wolves fight well," Krell said, "but they are too few. We have thousands more waiting to deploy." A low growl came from behind the alien. Ghost stood in the doorway, his golden eyes fixed on Krell. Blood matted his thick fur, but he stood tall and strong. Krell dropped the general and turned to face the dire wolf. "Interesting. You think you can challenge me?" Ghost didn't move. He waited, watching the alien's four arms for any sign of attack. This wasn't the raw aggression of a modern wolf. This was the calculated patience of an apex predator that had hunted the most dangerous prey of the Ice Age. When Krell finally moved, Ghost was ready. He dodged the first strike and caught one of the alien's arms in his massive jaws. The sound of breaking metal filled the room. Tahoe turned back to the controls. "General, help me with this." As Ghost fought Krell, Tahoe found what he was looking for: the main signal controlling all Vex war wolves. Every lab-grown wolf was connected to this system, following orders without question. "If we reverse the signal frequency," Tahoe explained quickly, "it might confuse them." The general helped him change the settings. Across the screen, the red dots began to flash. Outside the ship, across the world, the Vex war wolves suddenly stopped attacking. They stood still, as if listening to new orders that made no sense. Some began to fight each other, confused by the conflicting signals. Meanwhile, the dire wolves, following no signal but their own natural instincts, continued their coordinated attacks, now against enemies that couldn't properly respond. In the control room, Ghost had pinned Commander Krell to the floor. The alien leader stared up at the ancient predator. "Impossible," Krell whispered. "Our war wolves are perfect." "That's your mistake," Tahoe said, joining Ghost's side. "Perfect means unable to adapt. Your wolves only know how to follow orders. Ours know how to think." Using the alien controls, General Sung-Ho sent a message to all Earth forces: "Target the command ships. The Vex wolves are vulnerable." Within hours, military forces around the world pushed back against the confused Vex wolves. The dire wolves led the charge, showing humans how to fight most effectively. 3 days later, the last Vex ship left Earth's orbit. Their perfect invasion plan had failed against the messy, adaptable defenders of Earth. In a quiet moment after the victory, Tahoe sat with Ghost on a hillside overlooking Seoul. The city showed signs of battle, but was alive with lights and movement. "We did it, old friend," Tahoe said, his hand resting on Ghost's thick fur. "From different times, but fighting for the same home." Ghost turned his golden eyes to the sky, where the stars were visible again. His ancestors had watched those same stars thousands of years ago. Now he and his pack would guard Earth once more. In labs across the world, more dire wolves were being revived. Not as weapons, but as partners. Earth had learned its lesson. Natural evolution created strength that no laboratory could match. The aliens had grown their war wolves in labs, but humans had dug theirs out of the ice and found their greatest allies in creatures that had walked the earth long before them.